Welcome back to IAS Net Study, and this is the Ethics Current Affairs series, where we are going to combine current affairs with your static portion. Paper 4 static, the concepts which you learn in the static portion, GS4, those portions, static concepts are going to be integrated with current affairs. And here in this video, we are going to discuss the current affairs from April 15th to April 23rd, right? So let's get into the discussion of this. And most of these news articles were taken from the Hindu newspaper, and one or two articles might be from Indian Express. The first article, it is talking about piracy. The If you look at the article, it is explainer article, and here what are the legal consequences of piracy. Article talks about what are the legal consequences, and if you do the piracy, what are the legal consequences you are going to face, and how what are the steps to control, how to curb these piracy, digital piracy. Those perspectives have been discussed here. But the thing, from a GS paper 4 perspective, it's not the legal consequences or the legal aspects. You need to focus on ethical consequences, ethical aspects, or an ethical solution for this piracy. So let's talk about ethical consequences of piracy and ethical solutions for this piracy. What exactly this piracy it means? In a simple way, I'll tell you something. I have created an item. It may be book, it may be a software, it may be a game, movie, whatever, music, whatever it is. I have created an item. Now you are using my item. See, I created this item and I have complete rights over this item. I am the creator. I have complete rights, complete control over this item. Now you are a third person and you are using my item without giving me credit through the recognition, through the finance, through the money, or some kind of royalty, some kind of revenue. So without giving me that credit, you are using my item. So this is the piracy here. And in this article we are talking about digital content. So I have a certain creation of mine. I have certain item and I have copyrighted my content. Now I have a legal right over my content. Now it is your responsibility. If somebody is using it, it is their responsibility to contribute the creator. So if you're not contributing, if you don't want to contribute, then it leads to a piracy. So this is a simple understanding of piracy. Now by doing piracy, you are compromising some legal aspects. You are playing with your, it is taken for granted, some of the moral compass, some of the moral standards are compromised here. And let's see what are the moral compromises you are doing uh, in piracy. The first and foremost is the you're compromising with the fairness and integrity. It is unfair because I am the creator. It is my my time, my intellect, or my effort. It is visible in creating this particular item, but you are using this item without contributing. So what exactly it shows that, it shows that there is a factor of unfairness, there is a factor of non-integrity. So lack of integrity and unfairness. So that's the first ethical compromise. Then there is a greed. See, you don't want to pay anything but you want to use it. It is a aspect of greed is there. The aspect of dishonesty is also there. No, see, integrity, non-integrity, dishonest, somewhere you can relate it to the same concept. There is a factor of greed, there is a factor of dishonesty, there is a factor of non-integrity. And economic injustice is that I have put my effort, I have spent time, and I have come up with this item, I have created something, but you are misusing it because of your dishonesty, because of your greed, whatever the reason it is. You are using it and you are compromising with the justice aspect. And here the justice aspect is economic perspective. You have to pay me the royalty, you have to pay me the revenue, but you're not paying me the revenue. So there is an economic injustice. So the next ethical compromise is economic injustice. And this is also one of the way of exploitation. You know that I am doing wrong, and you know that I have to pay some kind of royalty, or I have to give some kind of recognition to the creator, but you're not giving, taken for granted. And you don't care what the creator is, whether he's economically suffering, whether he's there is a psychological suffering. And if it's leading to economic suffering, if it's leading to psychological suffering, then it means that somewhere it is kind of exploitation, it is a version of exploitation. So there is a factor of exploitation is also there. And principle of equality is that I have created an item and you want to use it, you can use it, but you have to pay some respect, some royalty, or some recognition to the creator. But you're not doing it. So this goes against the principle of equality. So I have created, I'm not getting any return out of it, but you're taking advantage of it. It goes against the principle of equality. And there is a responsibility. Your responsibility, you have to uphold it. There is a uh, you're a user, whether you are a customer, and customer also have certain responsibility. Platforms, the digital platforms, they have certain responsibility, and here those shared responsibilities are not fulfilled. Your moral responsibility are not fulfilled. So these are some of the ethical compromise we can see in the concept of piracy. So piracy, the ethical consequences or the ethical compromise we can see. Now, what are the solution for this ethical compromise? There are certain ethical solutions. Four solutions have been mentioned here. The first is promote the digital ethics. Digital ethics, it means that me, creator, I have to uphold certain ethics. Digital platforms, they have to uphold certain ethics, and the end user or the customer, consumers, they have to upload certain ethics, and there should be a clear digital ethics, what to do and what not to do, what is right and what is wrong. And it is responsibility to promote this digital ethics from all the three stakeholders and including the government also. So all the stakeholders should ensure digital ethics, then protect the creator, right? And this is the responsibility of online platform, this is the responsibility of state, this is the responsibility of end user also, that it is your responsibility. You have to make a law that give protection to the creator. You create a system in your platform that protect the rights of a creator. So protect the creator rights. It is my rights, it is my identity, you have to respect it. This is another ethical solution. And there is a terminology of CER. You know the CSR, corporate social responsibility. This is also one of the topics in the sixth unit, where certain amount, a certain percentage of your profit you have to contribute for some social cause. In a similar way, all these digital platforms like YouTube, Twitter, or the Facebook, these kind of online platforms, digital platforms, they also have certain responsibility. So see, these are private entities, private companies, and these corporate companies also have certain responsibilities. So corporate ethical responsibilities for online platforms, they have to uphold it. They ensure that they follow these guidelines and encourage the ethical consumer behavior. As an end user, they also have to uphold certain guidelines, certain moral principles. So it is a responsibility of a social setup, it is a responsibility of your state to encourage these ethical consumer behavior. See, everything, there is a link factor, there is a chain of events here. As a creator, I have certain aspects I should be very careful of. As a platform, these online platforms, they should uphold certain principles. State or the government should uphold certain principles. This will lead to the ethical usage of content in the internet, ethical usage of digital contents. So ethical solution is that it talks about digital ethics, it talks about the protecting creators right, it talks about corporate ethical responsibility, and it talks about ethical consumer behavior. These are some of the ethical solution to deal with piracy, right? Let's move to the next topic. The next topic, it talks about industrial accidents. If you look at the news article, industrial accidents occur due to neglect of risk built over the time. Here what you have to focus is that neglect of risk. This news article is talking about the boiler explosion in Chhattisgarh where it killed 20 people, and these kind of explosions continuously we are seeing in the newspaper. Actually, even in the case studies, if these kind of questions come, this topic is going to help you. And we have seen the industrial unit explosion of industrial units, we have seen exposure of firecrackers factory or go down, these kind of things we've seen once in a while. Every 3 months once we are seeing these kind of news. So how do you deal with why these things happens and how do you deal with it? That is the concept we are going to discuss here. So here, these accidents are happening due to neglect of risk. See, you are set up in the industry. Now you know the risks. What are the risks? There are five important risks. You know the risk. and you made a commitment by building this factory. You made this commitment that we are going to take care of this five risks, maybe risk of environmental pollution, chemical pollution, or the ecosystem, threat to ecosystem, or release of leak of some kind of chemical. These are risks are there, and it is as a, you have set up the factory, and it is your responsibility to take care of this risk also. But here in India, industrial accidents are happening due to neglect of this risk. See, these risks are known to you. These are not unknown risks. You already know this, but still, even after knowing this risk, you are neglecting this, you are ignoring this, and because of that, repeated industrial accidents are happening in the country, and repeatedly people are losing their life. And the reason, the core reason, if you look at it, it is neglect of the risk. You know the risk, but you're not taking any action, or you're ignoring or taken for granted. Because of that, industrial accidents are happening. Now, how do you deal with it? And even you might get case studies also. There's so many case studies have come on these lines also. So let's talk about what are the ethical reasons and what are the ethical measures to handle these kind of uh, ignorance or the neglect. So the first ethical reasons, what are the ethical reasons? The first ethical reason is that, see, I am setting a factory here. Now it is my moral duty to, but there is a moral duty of care. I have to take care of the people who are working in my company, and I have a responsibility to take care of the people who are leaving, who are dependent on livelihood in that area, or the people who are living around the my factory. Now it is my moral duty. If you are neglecting the risk, it means that there is a lack of moral duty of care. You have a duty of care, that is your moral duty, and there is a lack of moral duty. It is taken for granted. You are not fulfilling your duty here, and there is a respect for human life. Again, it is taken for granted, and you don't care for the human life here. You don't care for the human dignity. You don't care for a human right. There is a total disrespect for a human life. So this is one ethical reason. There is no moral duty of care. The moral duty of care is compromised, and there is no respect for the human life. This is one ethical reason. And second ethical reason is, you are prioritizing profit over the safety. See, you know the risk, and in order to make sure, in order to handle this risk, you have to spend money. See, that is going to affect your profits. So by minimizing your spending, you can maximize the profit. In that journey, what you're compromising the safety aspect here. So by compromising safety, you're compromising the accountability. See, while I am setting the factory, while building the factory, I made that commitment to the government, I made that commitment to the people, that I make sure that no negative, no harm comes out of my. But now, in order to increase my profit, what am I doing is, I am not fulfilling my commitment of taking care of this risk. So it is that compromised accountability. It is my accountability to ensure safety, but I am not ensuring. So compromised accountability. And lack of ethical leadership. If the top manager, director comes, then manager, all these, there is a hierarchy. See, if the top leadership is very strict, he know where the risk and what are the steps we need to take. He will be keep reminding that to the hierarchy B, and we will be reminding that to the next hierarchy C. So this is how it works. So they know the risk, and we have to take care of that. So it is a responsibility of a person in higher position. If the leadership themselves, they don't have these ethical values and ethical responsibility, then that is going to be replicated at the lower level also. So the director, CEO himself is not asking, and the next level in the hierarchy he is also ignoring, and it's not even reaching to the ground. So lack of ethical leadership is another reason for these kind of risk, these kind of industrial accidents. And then comes failure in informed consent and transparency. See, while setting the factory, I have made that commitment. These are the risks I am going to take care of. So because of that, government gave me the permission, people also gave their acceptance. Now there is an consent, people have given the consent, government has given the consent. Now it is my responsibility to make sure that I have to protect, I have to take care of these risks. But what am I doing? I am not taking care of this risk. So it clearly shows that there is a failure in informed consent and transparency. I am not fulfilling that consent. Whatever I have agreed to, I am not fulfilling it. And then You are treating human beings as a disposable resources rather than persons individual with inherent dignity. Deontology ethics, under deontological ethics, you cannot use persons as a means to achieve something. And here what you are doing is you want to make a profit. In order to make a profit, for other people are just disposable resources for you. Just you just want to make a money, you just want to make a profit, and whatever happens you don't care. So here people are just disposable resources. You're not caring for their health, you're not caring for their life, you're not caring for their livelihood, you're not caring for your any all these biodiversity ecological factors here. So you are treating human beings as a disposable resources rather than upholding their human rights, rather than upholding their dignity. So this is another ethical reasons. For me, it is just a means to achieve something. What is that something? It is profit. I want to make profit, and I can go to any extent to make the profit. So in that journey, human beings are just means, right? This is another ethical reason. And then betrayal of professional integrity and moral responsibility. I have set up this factory and it is my moral responsibility. See, all these things, informed consent, my commitment, these things are one side. Let's keep aside. Beyond all these things, I have certain moral responsibility and professional integrity. That I make sure that whatever the commitment, whatever the laws are there, I have to fulfill, I have to uphold it. But what am I doing? It is complete betrayal of this professional integrity. It is complete betrayal of moral responsibility. My moral responsibility towards the people, towards the country, towards the society. So these are certain ethical reasons for these kind of industrial accidents due to neglect of risk, due to neglect of risk, right? These are ethical reasons. Now, what are the ethical measures? How do you handle this? What are the ethical solutions? Let's see the ethical solution. The first and foremost, whatever we have discussed, ethical reasons, the same thing you can write it here from a different perspective. So in the first, in the last slide, we talked about duty of care. There, the these kind of accidents are happening due to lack of this duty of care, lack of this moral responsibility, lack of this ethical training, lack of this ethical education. These are the things. The same thing can be replicated from a different perspective in the ethical measures. So here you ensure the duty of care and you respect the human dignity. Right, the same way there is a consent, informed consent, there is a commitment, and you should demonstrate your commitment. You should uphold whatever the consent you have given. You should ensure transparency, demonstrate visible commitment, and foster strong safety culture based trust and respect. And you have to ensure this trust factor also, respect the human rights, respect the human dignity, and the entire the safety culture should be based on trust and the respect. And focus on informed consent. See, whatever the consent I am giving to the people, I am giving to the government, then I have to fulfill it. How do I fulfill it? I have to keep focused on it. It is not, I'm not going to ignore it, I'm not going to toss it aside. No, it is not that. It is one of the important responsibilities, and I should be focused on this informed consent. And ethical hierarchy, also you can mention it as ethical leadership. Focus on ethical leadership, focus on ethical education, focus on ethical training. These are some of the ethical measures to handle industrial accident due to neglect of. So this is with respect to this article. So it is industrial accidents occur due to neglect of risk built up over the time. There's a news article. So we talked about ethical reasons, we talked about ethical measures, right? Let's move to the next article. The next article, it talks about the trust. Here I'll tell you what exactly this news article is talking about. On mission to restore trust, Manipur CM pushes for dialogue between Kuki Naga communities. You know the things that are happening in the Manipur, the altercation between, or the issue between Métis and Kukis, the Manipur issue, and Nagas are also involved. Now, uh, a lot of disturbance, violence, deaths, all we have seen from 2 years, and it is getting repeated once in 10 years, 15 years. We've seen 90s, we have seen this 2000. There also we saw in last 10 years ago also we saw the news, and now also from 2 years, the cycle of violence, it is repeating again. Now, Chief Minister of Manipur, he has taken a step. Now he has visited the villages. The government has taken a decision to build confidence and to build trust among the people. See, the main reason for all these violence is that two or three communities in the state of Manipur, and they have a complete lack of trust on other. They think that cookies think that Métis are responsible for all the atrocities around them, and Métis think that cookies are responsible for all these things. So whatever the political reasons, whatever the legal reasons, but if you look at from ethical reasons, there is a clear lack of trust between these communities, Métis, cookies, Nagas, and lack of trust between people and authority. Now, government has taken the step to eliminate both these trust deficits from between people and authority and between the community themselves. Now, Chief Minister has he's visiting villages as a part of trust building mission, and he's interacting with the people. He's interacting with all the communities here. In this article, they very precisely is talking with the Kuki community and the Naga communities, but he's talking with all the communities. It's a part of trust building mission. So this is what the article is talking about. Now, what we have to focus and what exactly this initiation is talking about, what are the ethical aspects we can derive out of this initiation? The first and foremost aspect is that Chief Minister is taking this step. It is a direct outreach. Outreach, it means that he's showing that I am willing to talk to people. We want to end the cycle of violence. For that, we need to sit and we need to sort out the issues. So it demonstrates few aspects. It demonstrate empathy. It demonstrate compassion here. Empathy and the compassion. See, already the entire environment is highly polarized. In that, you need to build the trust. And in order to build the trust, you need to focus on values. And what are these values? Empathy, compassion, primary values. And then it is this initiation also. You can give an example for emotional intelligence also. Emotional intelligence is that I understand my emotion, I understand your emotion. By understanding this, I am using this understanding, I'm using these emotions to build something constructive. So here also, Chief Minister of Manipur, he's understanding these the emotions of all these communities, and he want to use this for some constructive purposes. So it is an act of emotional intelligence from a state. So state is emotionally intelligent. I understand what has to be done, and they're taking a positive step. So this article talks about emotional intelligence. There is an indirect reference to emotional intelligence. And another aspect is it talks about Gandhian principle. Gandhian principle emphasizes on truth, it emphasizes on non-violence. And here also you're talking to different groups, and it clearly shows that you want to eliminate the violence. In order to eliminate the violence, what is the solution? Sorry, the solution is dialogue process. You have to sit together and you have to sort out the issues, or else it is not going to. Even the world war, if you look at it, even it started with initial, it was all small ego clashes, small greed, these kind of negative values or immorality in politics, they've drastically turned into a world war. So here the understanding is that in order to eliminate the cycle of violence, we have to sit together, we have to sort out the issues, we have to sort out the difference. And here the main objective is to eliminate non-violence. Again, it is nothing but Gandhian principle. So the article, the initiation by Manipur government, it is ensuring implementation of Gandhian principle. Then there is a grassroots level engagement, and this grassroots level engagement, it is nothing but it is showing the commitment from a government. So accountability, transparency, responsibility, and the responsiveness, all these values are visible in this initiation. And it also shows how administrator handle value conflict in pluralist plural societies. Plural society, see, there is a history to the Manipur this violence. Polarized society, pluralistic society. Now, whatever the steps you take as a chief minister, it has a very long-term effect, long-term impact on the psychological aspect of the people in the region. Now, by going through this trust building mission, by going through this confidence building measures, he's mainly focusing on one value, that he's treating everybody equal. So it is the value of impartiality. The chief minister is ensuring, is implementing the value of impartiality. Initially we talked about value of empathy, we talked about value of compassion, we talked about Gandhian principle, we talked about value of accountability, transparency, responsibility, and responsiveness. Now there is another value, that is the factor of impartiality. It also can be derived out of this news article. And then it is also talks about ethical public leadership. Ethical public leadership, it is also very important, because there is a polarized society, there is a highly divided society, there are deep societal divisions are there all. If the leadership it is, if the leadership they don't have these kind of ethical values in their conduct, it is not going to be replicated at the ground. So ethical leadership can also, ethical public leadership can also be very much visible in this news article. So these are some of the ethical values we derive out of this news article. The trust building mission of Manipur CM, and these are the values we can derive out of this news article, right? So let's move to the next article. The next article, it is that there was a labor unrest in Noida and Ghaziabad, where the domestic workers and these daily wage laborers, they are demanding for increasing the minimum wage, and it turned into a violent altercations also, and some of the people have been arrested by authorities, all these things. Now government, UP government, they've taken a decision that they've released an interim notification also, that minimum wages revision is undergoing, and they've told that we are going to revise the minimum wage and we are going to increase the minimum wage. So this is what, there was a labor unrest and violent altercations, all these things happened. Now UP government has, they've taken a decision that minimum revision change, it is going to happen. They've given an interim order. This is the news here. Now the thing is, now what we have to focus in this article, it is not about the violent altercation, it is not about the demands, it is about the government response. How exactly government is responding. Now government is accepted, it has accepted the demands. Now it is, government has given its version that we are going to, yes, we are going to take steps, we are going to make sure that there will be an increase of minimum wage. It is a government response. Now what are the ethical aspects are there in this government response? We're not talking about the news article, we're not talking about the demands, we are not talking about the violence, nothing. We are talking about government response here to this unrest. How exactly government is handling. Now government has told that we are going to think about it, and most probably they are going to increase the minimum. Now what are the ethical aspects here? The first and foremost aspect is that government is listening to the people, listening to these labor all these entities they were protesting. It means that somewhere there is a value of compassion. So this revision, the government response, you can say it is a compassionate governance. They understood there is a real issue is there, people are suffering, yes, there is a factor of truth in their demands also, so we are going to consider it. So it talks about compassionate governance, and it is a responsiveness also. Government, it is not directly ignoring it. They've made a committee or something and they've come up with this proposal. It means that factor of responsibility, factor of responsiveness is also there from a government. So first, compassion, compassionate governance, and there is a responsiveness. It clearly shows that ethical success of this particular protest. So they demanded, I'm not talking about this violence factor, but still whatever their demands, government is accepting. So there is an ethical success. Now there is a responsiveness from a government side. And by accepting or by giving this interim order to increase the minimum wage, it means that they care for the people. So there is a aspect of care, there is a aspect moral responsibility to protect the dignity of labor, to protect the justice, to protect the social justice. So dignity of protecting the dignity of labor, that aspect we can see here. And respect and recognition, government has accepted, has given a interim order. It clearly shows that yes, we respect whatever your demands, and we give recognition to your demands. We respect, we accept, and we recognize your demands, and officially we are going to take a step to increase the minimum wage. So respect and recognition is another value here. And then ethical governance, we talked about compassion governance. Governance, it is one of the factor of this ethical governance. You have the topic also, governance. What is the difference between governance, good governance, and ethical governance? Ethical governance, where you involve all these moral ethical values in the conduct of your administration. So this also can be linked to ethical governance here. And you are ensuring right to livelihood. So you're making sure that it is not affecting whatever the decisions you're taking, it is not affecting the right to livelihood of this labor people. All these things are fine, the positive ethical aspect, but there is an ethical dilemma here. What is that ethical dilemma? One side, all these workers, they are demanding, there is a topic of worker welfare, right to fair wage, all these things. Another side, there are employer concerns also. Even the people who are employing all these, the domestic laborers, they are not very rich people, they are also middle class people, and they have their grievances also, so their concerns also there. So how do you balance this? There is that economic dilemma, there is that ethical dilemma here. So these are some of the ethical aspects in the government response, how exactly, so whatever the government, UP government is responding, and we are deriving the ethical aspect in that response. I hope you understood, don't get confused. So this is the ethical aspects of government response, right? Let's move to the next article. The next article, it's written by Swasini Heather, and India must draw a red line on US unilateral sanctions. And here our focus is on unilateral sanctions. United States of America, what exactly it is doing? It is coming up with unilateral sanctions, especially the Trump era. It has increased to very large extent. Now, see, these unilateral sanctions, these are happening for political reason, these are happening for economic reason, these are happenings for military reason. So reasons are different, but you're using these kind of sanction economic manipulation as a tool to manipulate other people, a tool to manipulate other countries, tool to handle other countries. So unilateral sanction is the topic here. Let's see what are the ethical loopholes or what are the ethical negatives of these kind of unilateral sanctions. So USA is putting these kind of unilateral sanctions. Now this questions the legitimacy. See, what USA is doing is unilaterally it is imposing all these kind of sanctions. Now it questions the legitimacy. See, we have United Nation organization. These kind of, if the sanctions come from this kind of international body, internationally accepted body, we can accept it. There is a legitimacy factor. There will be a discussion. There are veto powers, a lot of voting, everything will be. But here there is a unilateral sanction. USA, it knows that it is rich, it has money. Now it is using that economic power to manipulate other countries. So it question, there is a question of legitimacy. It is not coming from UNO, it is from coming from United States of America, because economically they are strong and they're using their strength to handle another country. So question of legitimacy and question of proportionality. See, this also happened. Question of proportionality is that one country, take an example of Vietnam. Vietnam has increased tariff on something, maybe some leather products. It has increased tariff of maybe 25%. But what USA is doing it, it is increasing tariff on 100 plus products, and tariff is 100%. So it is, if you look at the proportionality, it is only one product from Vietnam, but what USA is doing is 100 products and 100% tariff. So the, look at the proportionality, level of proportionality. So it questions the proportionality, the law of the sanction of proportionality. So it goes against it. And also you are using these sanctions as a hegemony, tool of hegemony, to handle other country, to manipulate other country, or to get whatever the things you want to be in the international geopolitical scenario. So you are using these sanctions are you functioning as a tool of hegemony. Then the next is collective punishment. Usually what uh, Trump is doing is that, USA is doing is that, he's putting these kind of sanctions in a bulk. Actually, few days ago, if you look at the, maybe 6 months ago, there was a news that for entire Southeast Asian countries, he has put sanctions. He's not happy with one country, maybe he's not happy with Thailand, but what he's doing is, as a bulk for the all these 11 or 12 Southeast Asian countries, for all these countries he has increased the tax. Now it is a collective punishment for whatever the guilty, or if you're not happy with one country, impose these tariffs on single country. But what he's doing is, it is a collective punishment. So it undermines that idea that only guilty that has to be punished, or only the those countries you have issues, only those countries you need these kind of altercation. But what he is doing, he's undermining this idea of only guilty regimes should be punished. So the concept of collective punishment is seen. And it is also behavior of authoritarianism, that I can do whatever I want. I have the money power, I have the muscle power, I have the military power, so I can do whatever I want. So authoritarianism, I don't care whatever you think, I don't care whatever United States, United Nation organization thinks, I don't care whatever World Trade Organization thinks, I'm going to put this tariff. It is my wish, my whims and wishes. So authoritarianism, it undermines the sovereignty, it undermines the multilateralism. UNO is multilateralism. If the sanctions come from UNO, yes, we accept. But here you are misusing your economic might. So you're undermining sovereignty of another country, you're undermining sovereignty of multilateral bodies like UNO, you're undermining the sovereignty of multilateral forums like WTO, World Bank, uh, IMF, all these things. You, due to authoritization, you're undermining sovereignty and multilateralism at the international level. This is another ethical concern here. And it erodes the moral authority. See, all these, keep aside all these legal aspects, international code of conduct, all these things. Beyond all these things, there are certain moral ways, moral conduct rules we all stick on to. We all follow this. By going through this unilateral sanctions, by going behaving like authoritarian regime, by focusing on hegemony, what you're doing is you are eroding the moral authority. I have certain moral responsibility. If I am a prime minister of India, I have certain moral responsibilities. Rules, regulation, international laws, all these things are aside. Beyond all these things, there are certain moral aspects, moral values, ethical values are there. I need to uphold this as a human being. It is my responsibility to uphold this. There are ethical leadership values I have to ensure in my conduct. You are not even fulfilling, you're not even subscribing these ethical values in your conduct. So it is clearly eroding the moral authority. So these are some of the ethical loopholes or ethical compromises of unilateral sanctions. Now, what is the ethical solution to it? How do you handle it? So you have to uphold universal values like democracy and human rights, upholding the care, dignity of the other people or other countries in the world. So uphold the universal moral values and ethical values. And whatever, if you're going, if you want to have any kind of sanctions, it should be based on a just cause. And the intention should be very genuine. And see, you have a military issue and you are manipulating it, and you are turning into a geopolitical aspect, you're turning into a economic aspect. Here intention is something and there is no right cause, you just want to manipulate it. So there is no right cause, there is no right intention. So how do you handle this kind of solution? Through just cause, through the right intention. And prioritize multilateralism or multilateral forums like UNO, where you accept on collective basis. There's a collective responsibility, you respect that, you accept that. So prioritize multilateralism and prioritize the legitimate authorities. So legitimate authorities, they discuss, they listen to your grievances, they listen to your opinion, and then they take a decision. So whatever the sanctions you want to impose, go through with these kind of multilateral forums. And strong humanitarian safeguard, I told you that beyond laws, rules, all these things, there are some ethical values. As a person, as a leader of a country, prime minister of a country, I have to uphold it. So your decisions should be based on strong humanitarian safeguard. I want to protect my country, fine, but that does not mean that I have to cause pain to other countries. There is a middle way, there is a gray area where I can work. So make sure that whatever the policies, whatever the actions you take, it should be based on strong humanitarian safeguard. And then develop norms against excessive economic coercion. There is nothing but economic coercion, and a word, they should come together and they should develop a norm or develop some kind of rules for these kind of economic portions. See, economy plays very important role, and economic manipulation, these kind of sanctions, it is going to impact other countries, and USA knows that, and USA is taking advantage of it. China also does the same similar thing here. So it is a responsibility of an entire world. They have to develop some kind of norms. If these kind of economic coercion happens, we should have some kind of norm, some kind of regulations, restrictions to handle these kind of excessive economic coercion. So these are some of the ethical solutions here, right? Let's move to the next article. The next article is that this is the opinion page, and here the article is talking about importance of cultural continuity. So what exactly is cultural continuity and what are the ethical aspects linked to it? Let's talk about it. Cultural continuity is that there's one culture and it has been preserved and it has been carried forward. That is the cultural continuity. So it may be belief system of a community, it may be a values, it may be tradition, it may be language, practices, whatever. There are cultural aspects are there, and these cultural aspects are continued from one generation to another generation. This is cultural continuity. But there is a catch here. This cultural continuity does not mean that culture is frozen for thousands of years. No, it is not that. Culture is continuing with evolution. Culture is also changing. See, we were practicing sati, even though it was practiced in a very small, very less geographical area, but it was practiced in a country. And later we realized that this is inhuman. This goes against the dignity of a life. So we stopped doing it. So here, even though the Hindu culture is there, Hindu civilization is there from thousands of years, and we are still, it is still practicing those beliefs and system, but it is not frozen. We have eliminated those kind of practices which are inhuman, which goes against human dignity, which goes against constitutional morality. There is an evolution. This is the cultural continuity. There is an evolution. The culture is passed from one generation to another generation. At the same time, it is not frozen. See, the core elements will be there. The core elements of Hinduism is that worshipping of nature, acceptance of every creature, the idea of Sarvejana Sukhino Bhavantu, all these. At the same time, there were certain practices, the practice of untouchability, the practice of sati, these were against human rights, and we have removed it, and even law made it illegal, constitution made it illegal, and we have moved it. So this is cultural continuity. And what are the ethical aspects linked to it? The first and foremost aspect is it protects the identity of communities. So identity of the communities from thousands of years, it is carry forwarded, and there is a sense of belongingness, that I belong to this land, I belong to this culture, I belong to this tradition, the sense of belongingness. And it also ensures the intergenerational responsibility. From thousands of years, this is carry forward to from one generation to another generation. So it also showcase that intergenerational responsibility, that it is my responsibility to take forward to the next generation, and it is next generation their responsibility to take forward to another generation. So intergenerational responsibility is there. And autonomy of communities, it ensures right to preserve, adopt, and discard cultural. You can adopt it, you can discard it, you can change it, you can preserve it. So autonomy of communities can be seen, and it aligns with the human rights. So I talked about untouchability, I talked about sati. These traditions have been rejected because it violates the idea of equality, it violates the idea of social justice. So we eliminated those practices which causes social divisions, we eliminated those practices which causes social disharmony. By rejecting these negative things, we have preserved positive things, and we are carry forwarding these positive things to next generation. So autonomy of communities, and it is in alignment with human rights, it is in alignment with human dignity. So these are some ethical aspects we can see in the cultural continuity. So ultimately, there is evolution, forward carry forward of traditions, language, culture, values, customs, everything, sorry, from one generation to another generation. But there is a catch here. You make sure that you eliminate those practices which goes against equality, you eliminate those practices which goes against social justice. It must align with constitutional morality, human rights, and social justice. So these are ethical aspects of cultural continuity. I think this is it for the day, guys. And we have covered 7 or 8 days of ethics, the current affairs ethics, and we have linked with the static portion. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Will take up the next 1 week or 10 days current affairs. And thank you so much for listening. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Thanks.